watching News at Prime. Let's bring you this conversation now. Former Police Minister Bheki Cele recently told the ad hoc committee looking into the SAPS that the ex-National Commissioner, Riah Phiyega, fired senior officers without proper consultation or explanation. The parliamentary body is looking into allegations of political interference in police investigations following explosive claims by the KwaZulu-Natal Police Chief in July. Let's now speak to the country's first black Deputy National Commissioner, Dr Leah Shibambo, who was axed after 30 years of service. She talks to us now. Dr Shibambo, good evening to you. Thank you very much for your time. Frankly, I don't know where to start, but perhaps we'll find our way with this. The year is 2013, the month is August, and there's a press conference that's being hosted by the then National Commissioner of the Police, Riah Phiyega. In that press conference, what do you remember specifically about your name?
Well, good evening, Xoli, and I just want to rectify something. I'm one of the first female Deputy National Commissioners. I wasn't the only one.
Understood.
But coming back to that press conference, I think it occurred on a Sunday, and we were called. I just received an SMS to say I must attend a press conference. The National Commissioner is going to talk about her, I think, first year in office. But to my surprise, when I got there, amongst other things that she spoke about, she spoke about changing people in certain positions, like reorganizing the police. And she then mentioned some people that she was appointing. I was responsible for physical resources. And then she announced that she was appointing a former colleague who is a white male. And I wasn't given any position at all. So that's how I found out that I'm being removed from my position.
And so what happens during this period? Because my understanding is that you continue reporting for work, but what are your duties and what are you told about what the future holds?
So I continued going to work, but it took for 3 months, almost 3 months, I used to go to her office because when I asked her at the GCIS, what's my new role? She said, no, we'll talk. And we never got to talk. And about 3 months later, with me going every day to her office, so it means that for that 3 months, I was just coming to work and didn't really have a specific function to do, although I was sitting in that position. I was still the Deputy National Commissioner in terms of the structures of the police. So only after that 3 months of me every day going to her office asking for appointments, did I get an appointment? And I was told that no, she wants me to head the SAPS Education Trust. And I mean, we all know that the SAPS Education Trust is just a project that looks after the children of officers that died in the line of duty. It's not on the structure of the police. So, I said to her, it's okay, I will do this work, but I also want a position in the structure at the level of Deputy National Commissioner.
In fact, unless, of course, you know different, I think it was Bheki Cele last week who tells the ad hoc committee that even the Education Trust, she seemed to, at some point, sort of dismantle that. Do you know what the reasons were for the dismantling of the very Education Trust that she was saying you would head up?
I think it was more, when she had explained it to me, she had said, no, she wanted to make it bigger and better. So probably in her effort to try and make it bigger and better, we don't know what were her reasons and what was her vision or her dream with that. And we know that that was established by General Cele. But maybe in her effort to want to make it bigger and better, it just fell apart, if I can put that way. Put it that way, yes.
Let me quote one line then from that City Press article that first carried your story yesterday. And I quote directly now, "I did not resign until one day I began seeing articles in the papers saying the SAPS was bidding me farewell. It was a very painful part of my career because I was fired without a reason. But today, I know I was a victim of corruption." Let's deal with that last line. You say today you know you were a victim of corruption. Expand a little bit for us. What do you mean by that?
So my suspicion why I think that had to do with corruption, or maybe I was too strict. Remember, I joined the police at the age of 19. I matriculated and then I joined the police. So for 30 years, that's what I know, and there's the culture that I know and have been practicing. All I remember is that I was responsible for supply chain management, technology, and finance. There would be some discussions in some management forums where I would stand straight and say, okay, we will be able to do a certain project. Just for example, if there was a project that we're talking about, and I would say, no, we can do this project, but these are the rules and the procedures, the National Treasury regulations that must be followed. And that frustrated Commissioner General Phiyega a lot. She did even mention it at one meeting and said to me that I love the rule book. And I'm like delaying processes because I love the rule book. And all I used to say is, but I didn't create the rule book. You know, it's my responsibility in this position as the Deputy National Commissioner to make sure that the South African Police Service follows the rule book, that we do not have, procurements that are not in line and procurements that are not according to regulations. So, because I never got a reason from Mrs. Phiyega why she decided to fire me. I asked her, not once, not twice, but she never gave me a reason. So that's the only thing that I can think of that she didn't like about me.
Yeah. Her tenure as National Police Commissioner, the description around it last week from members of parliament, including the man that was testifying on the stand, Begicele, I think the word that was used was that this was one of the most catastrophic eras of the police. Do you agree with that statement? Keep in mind that, unless I'm wrong, that she herself would have been the first female leader, not to mention black, of the South African Police Service. Now, for her to do this to another female leader, did that leave a bitter taste in your mouth?
It did. Let me say, Xoli, I am the first vice president of the International Association of Women Police. I go all over the world promoting the women as leadership in law enforcement and in the police. And when Mrs. Phiyega was appointed, much as she didn't have the police background, she wasn't what we call a career police officer, I was one of the people that were very excited. Because for me, it was, finally the South African Police Service has a woman in law enforcement. Unfortunately, she didn't like some of us, or she had her own reasons why she didn't like some of us. Unfortunately, she probably missed the opportunity to work with people who knew the police, who've been in the police, and who could have helped her to make a success of her 5 years as a national commissioner. Catastrophic. If we think of Marikana, what can we say? It happened during her time. If we think of as well, what happened to senior officers, myself included, and others. So yes, I would agree with that it was really a disappointment. But for me, and remember, I'm a mother, I've got children. And for your children to see on headline news that, you are no longer in the police, and then media being media, they will use words such as you have been demoted, and you don't blame the media for that, because there's the information they were getting from the police, and they report it as it is, as they understand it. But that has really damaged, hurt me, my family, my children. And your children have got friends at school, and they say, oh, your mom was on TV, she's been fired, so yeah, that was very bad.
Yeah.
That even until now is still very painful. And that's why when some people have asked me, how did I feel when General Xoli mentioned this and mentioned my name, it was hurting. I was very, very hurt. Humbled, but yes, hurting, because it brings back those memories of things that have happened, questions that we have asked and never got answers.
Well, you mentioned one period that would have happened under her watch, and it is the Marikana massacre. I covered that story, and I remember her words in the many press conferences that she would have held. And one that stayed with me up until this day was when she said this represented the best of policing in South Africa. Do you think that she quite literally escaped with... do you think that she should have been held accountable, seeing that she escaped prosecution?
I was actually shocked to hear that. Let me say that at meetings that she would have with senior officers or with the executive in the police, I was one of the people who would be told, let's say she would have a management forum, and then when she closes the meeting, she says, okay, this meeting is now adjourned, and then everybody, you must go home, except I want to remain with this and this and that person. So I'm one of the people that were allowed to go home when they had a meeting and discussed, well, I don't know what was discussed there, because I wasn't part of that meeting. And then the next thing we see on television, how people were being killed, you see. So, and then to define that as the best policing, for some of us, it was very embarrassing and very painful, because the best policing is about saving lives. It's not about killing innocent people that are just trying to say we want a better wage for our families.
Let's conclude the conversation, because in the City Press article, you also talk about General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, and I want to extrapolate once again a quote from you, and you say, I know Mkhwanazi, and I worked with him very closely before I left the police service, and I have always known him as a man who calls a spade a spade.
Yes.
Do you support what he has done? Do you believe that there is some truth to the allegations he has made?
Well, as I indicated in that article, Mkhwanazi was the acting national commissioner when I was the deputy national commissioner, and then, of course, Phiyega came. So, and I can repeat that if Mkhwanazi believes in something, and if he believes he's got his facts right, he doesn't shy away, from saying that and from talking about it. I am also, I think, just like the rest of the nation, I'm also looking forward to see how all these investigations and commissions will end, because only then will we be able to know whether, the allegations that he made were correct or were not correct. But as far as I know, General Mkhwanazi, he's the type that if he knows something and he believes that his facts are right, he doesn't shy away from saying it as he believes it.
Yeah. Final question to you. And by the way, when we invited you for this interview, we knew that you were going to say things that are not particularly positive about General Phiyega. So we did invite her to come and talk to us after we have spoken to you. And she has declined, at least for now. We're hoping to talk to her still. If you had the opportunity to say something to her, what would you say about your 30 years in the police that were ended so abruptly?
I would say the same thing that I said to her one day. I said to her, General, you don't know where I came from. I joined the police from Soweto as a young girl. And when I joined, it was during that time when the police were being, police were being killed in Soweto. My family suffered for me to be a police officer. And you come, not understanding where I come from, you come and end my career without reason. And I still want to know, why did she fire me? That question, I still want to have asked her. I still want to ask her, why did she fire me? She'll come with excuses of saying, no, this and that. But why did she fire me? That's all I want to know. Let me actually rephrase it. Why did she fire me? She was so determined to fire me to an extent that she even had to not even follow the rules and regulations of the police. You know, she did something that is unlawful and unfair. It's clear because the courts have said it was unlawful and it was unfair.
I know I am meant to end this conversation because of time, but very, very briefly, something else constantly is made about police officers, especially black police officers, that were recruited during the apartheid era, even though it would have been in the dying years of the apartheid era, and you are one of those. Does it hurt you when a reference is made that you were appointed under the apartheid regime and the police of that time, they had no regard for black life because theirs was to carry out the wishes of the government of the day? How do you respond to that?
Yeah, it doesn't hurt me because my circumstances that led me to join the police under those very dangerous circumstances. As I say, you know, I have got a sister that looks like me. You know, I know we're out of time, but I just want to tell you something. I have a sister that I look like her because she's older than me. But people can't differentiate between the two of us. You know that my sister could have been killed during that time because I joined the police. People did not know the difference between me and my sister. However, my own personal circumstances are known to myself and my family, and I do not regret joining the police. At that time, I mean, who goes into a danger zone unless, you know, you have got your own reasons for doing that? And I do accept and I understand the reasons why, because it is true that the police will always serve the government of the day. And the government of the day when we joined was the apartheid government. And we were serving the apartheid government. So, I mean, that is true. However, I am blessed that I was able to join at that time and I could progress, and I was even able to see the new democracy and see the police changing, you know, from being a police force to be a police service. And I've contributed as much as I could as a law enforcement officer in my country.
Dr. Leah Shibambo, thank you very much for your time, and we truly are grateful for your time tonight.